Hey guys, it's Woody the Unexceptional Gamer, and this is game one of the Commentator Showdown. So get some Sandy. Anyway, that was Sandy Ravage, by the way. So if you haven't heard of Commentator Showdown, this is the deal. The Game 360 and Fear Crads started putting together something where all the commentators play each other, and they invited me to come play, and it's kind of just like a natural byproduct of the way I'm built. I started taking on an organizational role and working with them and putting stuff together. So we ended up getting two sponsors, Game Dunzo and Filmon.com, and they put up some prize money. So the top three places got $1,500, $1,000, and $500, which is kind of neat. You know, it makes sure that everyone puts their try-hard pants on and sees how it goes. I'm not really a free-for-all guy. I don't have that much free-for-all experience. Man, I knew he was coming. I still lost that gunfight. I don't have that much free-for-all experience, and so the traffic patterns are different than like Domination or Demolition or the objective-based games that I'm used to seeing. A good example is right here. I got shot to this spot from my left a ton. And if you're playing Domination, people rarely flank from that direction. But if you're playing free-for-all, you know, I was just a slow learner. I kept dying that way. So I practiced a little bit this week in an effort to be a better free-for-all player than I was before. And, you know, I was trying different guns, trying different ways of playing and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess it worked a little. In about half of the games, you know, I had a decent KD, but I didn't finish very high in the lobby. And then in about half of the games, I was kind of, you know, embarrassed by the way that I did. So, you know, I guess that's how it works out. So I wanted to talk about this, you know, in terms of, you know, does it really show who the best player is? And, you know, not exactly. You know, it's not perfect. Like, one thing is for sure, every time I cooked a nade, I died. I just, when there's 12 people, or I guess 11 other people shooting at you, you can't cook nades. That's one thing I learned. So does this really show who the best player is? And not exactly, but kind of, is my answer on that. You know, I guess what they do, you know, over the course of a weekend. Oh, Ronaldinho. Did you have something to say to me, Ron? I love Ronaldinho. Anyway, so I guess, you know, probably the best way to figure out who the greatest players are is to, you know, watch an MLG event over the course of the entire weekend, or, you know, you see the top game battles people play, or etc. But if you have a few hours, my question would be, what's better? You know, are you going to, say, play 4 games of Domination and add up their scores? I don't think that necessarily shows, you know, who did the most for the team, right? Some guys are going to be, you know, kind of kill whores. Other guys are going to be objective players, and objective players tend to get fewer points than kill whores do. Yeah, I guess you could play TDM, but then, you know, you're not all playing against the same people. And, you know, if you find yourself on the winning team a lot, then maybe, you know, you're going to have a better way than you would if you were on the losing team. So, free-for-all was the best idea I had and still have. You know, if anyone has a better idea, you know, I'd kind of be interested. Leave something in the comments. But, you know, you can't just be against a free-for-all game. You have to be for something. And my question, you know, to anyone who says, oh, free-for-all, you know, stupid, what are you for, right? What's your method for doing this sort of, you know, which commentator is the best player kind of competition? Because, you know, there's a lot of flaws in using TDM or demo or whatever. You know, there is no one perfect way to do this, and this was the least imperfect way that we came up with. So so I thought I'd talk about that, because a lot of people are making comments saying that, you know, free for all doesn't say anything. There's a total gift. Did he just spawn there? I got lucky. Thanks, Holiday. So it was pretty fun. I think I mentioned already, in about half of the games I went positive and like this one here, where half of the games were like this one, and then half of the games I played, I really didn't do nearly as well as I wanted to do. You know, I would go negative and I'd finish it both negative and at the bottom of the lobby, and that kind of stunk. Of course, it's not about KD. Like, I think in this game, Sandy Ravage finishes much higher than me, but it goes negative. So I would give him credit for having a better game. There is a skill. Like, I still don't get the skill. Someone else gets it. There is a skill to finding traffic. And, oh, I should talk about who the winners are. Mark of J got first place. The Game 360, that guy who only posts 100 kill games, he got second place. And Fear Crads, Fear, C-R-A-D, he got third place. And he was from Europe, which makes a third place finish really impressive. And you know, on that note, I talked to him before the game. He had played on Game Dunzo servers before, and who is this? Is this? Oh, I thought it was Ronaldinho. He had played on Game Dunzo servers before, and he said, you know, the servers really weren't bad. If you don't know, one of the things that Game Dunzo has is they have these dedicated servers on like the backbone of the internet in a commercial data center, and they're Xbox machines, and they host the game. So if you can kind of picture this, right? Like I didn't get that kill either. You know how if you had 3 people in a lobby, one could host and the other 2 could play on that guy's host? Well, that's what they do. But the actual host is a bot. And rather than being like some guy with a dial-up internet connection, he's a bot in like a real data center that gives everybody good connections. And it got to the point where even European guys were capable of being competitive. Now, I'm sure he had a disadvantage, but you know, he got 3rd place in this thing. He beat some really good players, and I was impressed with what he got done. So yeah, that kind of covers 2 topics so far, which is you know, does this really show, you know, who's a better player? And, you know, the answer is, kind of, sort of, you know, you got a better idea. And I wanted to thank Game Dunzo, one of our sponsors. The other sponsor was Filmon.com. And Filmon.com was supposed to live stream this thing. And they did for the first 40 minutes or so, but they really weren't up to the capacity that an event like this needed. So they ran into a lot of trouble. And after about 40 or 45 minutes or so, when they didn't get when they weren't able to handle all the traffic that we needed, we switched over to Justin TV. I think everyone knows that, and Justin TV was able to handle the stream. So yeah, you know, it was just too bad. Filmon.com, it was too busy for the site that they have today, and that's the way that went down. So, talking about gun choices. So a lot of guys thought it was going to be a total FAMAS fest. And I think they interviewed Marco J afterwards. And he said that he did use a FAMAS with extended mags. But there were a lot of different guns used in this thing. T-Mart actually did pretty well with an M60, you know, for half of a game, which you don't usually see. I started playing around. Like, the thing about the FAMAS, or better yet, some machine guns beat assault rifles up close. They're supposed to, and they actually do. And the submachine gun I had been using most recently in my games was the MPL and the Spectre. Like, those are 2 classes I have set up. And I was going to use those because I had gotten kind of used to it. And I don't use the AK-74U much because it's... Look, I'm just having a hard time getting this kill. I don't use the AK-74U much because it's one of those games that commentators get a hard time with. Like, you know, if you use the FAMAS now, everyone fusses at you. It used to be safe, but now people hate it. If you use the AK-74U, people fuss at you. Sometimes they fuss about the G11. You know, sometimes it's like, you know, exactly which freaking gun are we allowed to use, guys? But I had put on the AK-74U. I made this class last night as I was kind of practicing for this. Ronaldinho. As I was kind of practicing for this, I played some free-for-all this week because I'm really not a free-for-all player. And I had some luck with the AK-74U, so I thought I would use it today. And it's what I used in most of my games. On Villa, I think, because I expected to have a lot of long-distance engagements, I used the FAMAS. But yeah. So like I was saying, about half of the games I finished okay, but towards the bottom, and half of the games I was, really not happy. So I was not the star of the day, but what are you going to do? Everyone in this lobby is good. You're going to have winners. You're going to have losers. Get turned on for your crads. Number 3 guy on the commentator scene. Yeah, you're going to have winners. You're going to have losers. And look at this gift. Thank you, guys. So, that's the way it went down. Next time, maybe I'll get some feedback. Because I finished towards the bottom today on Commentator Showdown, part of me feels like, is there someone who really should be in this thing that I'm taking their spot? Maybe my role should be as like a commentator or something like that, where I announce the thing and interview players as we go along, or maybe I can compete again and redeem myself. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along, But yeah, so it was a good time. All the guys were really cool to each other, and I thought the stream was really great. So yeah, I was psyched about how the event went down. Afterwards, all the guys hit Twitter. Guys who were invited actually and declined to play hit Twitter and talked about talk trash, I guess, about the people who were willing to put their name on the line and compete, which doesn't really impress me. But what are you gonna do? Some guys some guys are players and some guys like to criticize from the sidelines. That's how life goes. Onslaught, T-Mart, love you guys. And then here, if I remember right, is where I make my entrance into the kill cam. So one thing I noticed about this, I have the same KD as Mark of J does, up a second place on the leaderboard. And that to me is a testament of one of the skills in free-for-all. One of the skills in free-for-all is being able to find the traffic that you need. And that's what the top guys did. Even in games where I did, well, with air quotes, I didn't get nearly as many kills as I needed to get because I wasn't able to find the traffic that I needed to find. And so maybe if I do play this thing again, I'll take that as a lesson learned and try to find out how to get more free-for-all traffic than I did in a game like this one. And finally, two vids you may not have seen. The top one is a gameplay commentary of Domination on Grid, which is a pretty good storyline behind it. I was proud of that video. I think it came out well. And the bottom one is Painkiller Already, and it was a good show this week. So check them out if you're interested in watching a couple more vids in your day. Have a good day.